All right, well, thank you all for coming. Welcome. For those of you that don't know me, and I think I've met most of you in this room, I'm Lance Mathess. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Park County Sheriff's Department. And to my left is, as all of you know, Sheriff Scott Steward. And again, thank you all for coming, and we'll turn it over to the Sheriff.
Thank you, Lance. Thanks for coming. As you know, on January 9th, 2014 at 11:58 a.m., the Park County 911 Communications Center received a report of a body discovered on Little Sand Coulee Road, approximately a mile and a half west of Highway 294 east of Clark. Deputies from the Park County Sheriff's Office, Bureau of Land Management, and agents of the Wyoming Division of Criminal Investigation immediately responded to the scene. The reporting party, a 40-year-old Cody resident, advised that he had been hunting ducks in the area with his son when they came across the body. The body was located in a creek drainage approximately 10 to 12 feet off the north side of Little Sand Coulee Road. The body was decapitated and otherwise severely mutilated. The head of the victim has not yet been recovered. The victim is described as a Hispanic or Native American male, estimated to be less than 6 feet tall, weighing between 180 and 200 pounds with a stocky build. He was wearing a dark blue button-down long-sleeve shirt and blue jeans at the time. In addition, he was wearing a pair of brown cowboy boots with a bluish green top and a deep tread and a square toe. The jeans had a very distinctive brown leather belt with Native American designs with a matching belt buckle with a braided border and a pearl-colored inlaid horse head. Law enforcement personnel, including agents of the Wyoming Division of Criminal Investigations Forensic Unit, are still on scene processing evidence at this time. The exact cause and time of death is pending an autopsy, which is scheduled for tomorrow, Saturday, January 11th, 2014. At this time, we have no suspects. However, we are in the very early ages of the investigation, and our personnel are in the process of pursuing investigative leads. Any information regarding this investigation, including possible identification of the victim, should immediately be given to the Park County Sheriff's Office at 307-527-8700. And that's pretty much the statement we have. We'll open up for questions that anybody may have.
Can you say whether or not the crime occurred at the scene or if the body was dropped there?
At this time, we're not really sure. That's still an investigation. Until those guys clear out there, we're not going to know definitely where the crime actually committed.
Okay, has anybody been reported missing in the area recently that would fit that description?
No, not to our knowledge.
Sheriff Steward, the manner in which the body was found, are you suspecting that this might be a drug-related crime?
Again, I couldn't speculate on that at this time.
Sheriff, our sources tell us that not only the head was cut off, but one arm. Can you confirm or deny?
That is correct. That there are several other injuries that I can't go into, but that is also correct.
Does that appear to be torture in some way?
Again, we have no idea of knowing if this victim was alive or deceased at the time, so it's hard to tell.
The other arm was still intact?
For the most part, yes.
Oh, but did it appear as if someone had tried to take the other?
No, there's other injuries I can't really get into at this time, but there's more damage to the body.
Is it for sure that whoever committed this crime cut that person's arm off, or could and I'm not from this area, so could a wolf have gnawed off an arm and wandered off with it? Or?
No. There was no activity from animals whatsoever on the body.
Is the body still out there?
Currently, I believe they're in the process of removing it at this time.
How far up Little Coulee Road did the crime commit? I mean, I saw the yellow tape this morning. Mm-hmm. How far up that road did it take place, and on what side of the road? It's
approximately 1.5 miles to 1.75 miles off the road.
Okay.
And the crime took place, or whatever, it took place pretty much right in the middle of the road.
Okay, and the hunter who called really had no other information other than the fact that he was hunting and he found this guy out there?
Correct.
Okay.
Sheriff, you've been here for a while as a resident and then as sheriff. Have you ever seen a crime of this, my words, I know it's kind of not appropriate, but violent nature before?
Well, it certainly it sets to a whole new level that I can recall where we've actually had a body in this condition.
Are you questioning people in the area? I don't know. I don't know if anyone in the area would have heard or seen anything. A vehicle traveling at high speeds erratically to get out of the area.
Well, unfortunately, I think the closest residence is going to be maybe 5 to 6 miles away. It's in a pretty rural area. You know, we are tracking down some leads and investigated leads, and at this time,
Closest town would be Ralston, right?
that's correct.
Okay. Now, since we haven't determined whether or not this is like gang related or if they're just relatives or friends that, you know, a crime occurred, and at this point in time there's no reason to believe that it isn't just a random act of violence, should citizens in the area be concerned?
Well, I think that's going to be a natural thing. People are going to be concerned. Again, we don't have enough details yet in this investigation to know what we're dealing with at this time. I mean, certainly, I think people should be alert. You know, I can't tell you if it's a random act or if it was, you know, something else. So, I mean, certainly people need to be aware of their surroundings, and if they see something suspicious, let us know.
Can you say if there's been any leads or tips that have come in at all, or if it's still just totally out there?
No, we're following a few leads, and that's about all I can say on that.
Have you been in touch with authorities in Montana on the possibility that somebody from Montana could have committed this crime, driven the body to Wyoming and dropped it off?
Certainly. What we did last night is we sent out a teletype, basically alerting all the authorities around what we were dealing with, the condition of what we found, and so forth, and along with some photos of some of the clothing and so forth.
Is there, generally speaking, kind of a turnaround time for something like that? Or, you know, if there was somebody missing in Montana, then, you know, that's a pretty descriptive, ornate type of clothing.
Sure.
So, I mean, does it take 24, 48, 72, or is that just totally a one? Or,
Well, I mean, the big thing you're dealing with is somebody has to report that person missing.
yeah.
And, you know, you take an adult male who doesn't live at home, it might take a while, you know, if he doesn't have anybody living there. So there's so many factors in there that, who knows? I mean, it could be tomorrow, today, or who knows how long before we get any information on a missing person.
Okay, and you don't know how long the body was deceased before you found it?
I can't speculate on how long it was deceased. You know, my estimate would be, I bet we're dealing with, 3 to 4 days max. Again, there's nothing scientific about it. It's just based on my experience. That would be my best guess.
Toxicology reports or something of that nature? Is that how you age a dead body?
No, I mean, just looking at the scene, looking at, I've seen enough bodies that looking at it, to me, it doesn't seem that old. But again, we won't know a lot of this until they have the autopsy tomorrow.
Was there a lot of blood in the area, or?
There's a fair amount.
Is there anything that leads you to believe it may be crime-related? You already said you don't know about drug-related.
It's tough to tell at this point. I mean, we have no information to lead us one way or another, whether it was, again, drug-related, any kind of crime-related, and we just don't have that information.
Any weapons on the scene?
No.
Sheriff Steward, sorry, CJ, you go.
Seeing as you know what the usage kind of pattern is on that road, obviously it's not marked.
It gets a fair amount of usage. There was evidence of a vehicle that was very close to there, but I'm sure not related whatsoever, that drove in there, turned around, and drove back out. But it was far enough away that they wouldn't have seen what was going on. We did collect evidence there just in case, but you see a lot more activity out there in the summer.
Primarily hunting this time of year is
Actually, we see it's an area that's pretty notorious for college keggers, believe it or not. I mean, it's evident by all the pallets and nails, but it's generally used heavily by kids and college kids in the evening, when it's warmer out, of course.
Sheriff Steward, what'll happen with the body after the autopsy is done?
Well, the body will be surrendered to the coroner, Tim Powell, and then he will take it to Billings, and then that will be the coroner's discretion at that point what they do with the body.
Forgive me because I'm still new here, but why would it go to Billings and not stay in Cody?
Billings is where we take all of our bodies for autopsies.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, what would you advise? Should people be more vigilant? I mean, should they, keep an eye out, call you guys more often if they see something suspicious? What would you suggest?
Well, again, I mean, what we tend to see in some case like this is people get overly alert, and
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. So we'll see an increase in calls, suspicious activity. Keep in mind what I urge people is always stay vigilant, but be reasonable too. Don't overburden us with just everything. But certainly, if they have a need to call us, they need to call us, or either the PDs, the police departments as well.
Is there any need to bring the FBI in on this yet, or do you have to wait till you hear from like Montana, or?
I don't believe so at this time. That's always a possibility. If we start dealing with an interstate, crime, then certainly they'll get involved.
Sheriff, we've talked about you looking for missing persons.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that this person could be someone that law enforcement is looking for? We often see things on television, be on the lookout for this, that, or the other person.
Sure. And again, until we can identify the victim, we won't have any of that information, whether he was wanted, and we just don't have that information at this time.
And how would you identify them? DNA, fingerprints? What?
Well, there's certainly ways to do it. One of what we're going on right now is DCI is making it a priority to get the tissue samples and blood samples down and get entered into the CODIS system to see if they can identify them based on that. So they're making that a priority. The director down there has informed us that's going to be his priority to get that done for us, so we can try to get an identification as soon as possible.
This may be a question you can't really answer, but is there a certain level of do you feel confident that you guys will be able to identify this body, even the shape that it was in?
Well, I mean, that's our goal. That's our hope. And at this point in time, until we actually, can determine, we don't know at this point if he had ID on him or not. We haven't got that far yet. So certainly, that's our priority, but it's going to take a while, more than likely, unless he had some kind of ID with him or somebody else can step forward and ID him for us.
Are you running fingerprints?
What's that?
Or at all, fingerprints?
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
I think it's probably safe to assume, given the condition of the body, that whoever did this probably does not want us to identify the body. So it makes our job a little bit harder.
Correct.
Any other questions?
So are you saying you think that was the purpose of the decapitation, was to keep people from identifying the body?
Well, that's certainly a theory we have right now. I mean, because, I can say they didn't go to great lengths to conceal the body. So I would venture to guess that their whole objective there was just, again, keeping us from identifying them.
Was there any damage to the hand that was remaining that would deter the ability to take a fingerprint?
And that's another issue I really can't get into at this time.
Okay.
So just go back to the road usage. Do you talk about it being used pretty regularly. I mean, would you know once a week, once every 3 or 4 days if somebody's out there?
I would venture to guess there's people up and down that daily. Now, whether they go this far is a different story. This was at the extreme end of that road, so there's you see a lot of turnarounds where people recently have turned around, been out there turning around, driving other draws. Again, I would say multiple times daily there's somebody on that road.
That's an awfully arid area. I wouldn't expect ducks to be out in the basin there. Is there a lake? Or?
There's several ponds out there, retention ponds for rainwater and stuff, and it's a big area that does get a lot of hunting out there.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
Scott,
CJ?
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would people who may have traveled that road in the last couple of weeks, would they be people that you would like to just talk to? I mean, even if they didn't see anything, would that be helpful?
That would be helpful, especially I would say in the last week. If we had people that have driven all the way back in there, so certainly we can get a better time frame as to what day. If we can narrow down to what day, that would be helpful. So certainly people who have traveled, to the end of that would be greatly helpful.
Yeah, we would like you all to help us out in this regard. If you can put word out there, and anybody that's been out that road in the last week, no matter whether they think they saw something or not, we'd probably like to talk to them.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this is not the main cut across road that's out there. This is the little Sand Coulee Road, goes back in about 2 miles and dead ends, goes across the ponds right there. So to keep that in mind, we're not talking about the major cut across that people refer to as Sand Coulee.
Paint the picture again, the body, how far off the little Sand Coulee was it?
Approximately 10 to 12 feet.
So tire tracks leading up to it or anything, or probably carried there and dumped? Or?
Well, again, I can't get into a lot of the details of the scene, but you're dealing with winter. We do have some snow out there. We do have a lot of frozen ground, so.
But you indicated that something had happened in the road from what you saw.
Well, again, it's hard to speculate if that's where it happened or if that's just when they removed the body from a vehicle. That's just evidence, there's something that transferred from a vehicle, so.
Anybody else?
How many agencies have you alerted to be on the lookout for a disembodied head? I mean, does that go all the way into Billings or all the way across the state?
If correct me if I'm wrong, I know it went to the entire state of Wyoming and Montana. It definitely went to all those, and certainly if we don't get something, it'll go nationwide, I'm sure. But when we send out one of those teletypes, when we mass electronically send it out to those, every agency that has a teletype will get that message.
Okay.
And I believe it went out to Wyoming and surrounding states at this time.
Okay.
And also, I would certainly hope that we wouldn't have to have anybody be on the lookout for a head. I would hope that if somebody found a head, they'd certainly call law enforcement immediately.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
At this point in time, it's anybody's guess.
you're absolutely right.
I'm good.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. For those of you, there's a card up here of mine and of the sheriff's, and there's a news release here that has the sheriff's briefing notes as well. Feel free to take one. Thank you all for coming.